Hey everybody, Josh Ronquist here for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, back with another edition of Out Today and What I Missed, this time for February 21st, 2025. Now, you may have noticed the last few weeks I've been doing 30 albums at a time, because there's a lot of catch up that I had to do from January where I only covered 50 in total after taking some time off, and I've been doing 30 albums ever since then. This week I tried really hard not to do so, and after I narrowed everything down from the list that I had before, I am now down to another rousing 30 albums that I'll be covering this week. 11 brand new albums that have come out today. Well, some of them technically came out this week, but hey, it still counts. And everything else will be a part of what I missed. So hopefully there's some great stuff here for you to be able to check out, and let's just get into it. Up first, we have Abduction with Existential Isthmus. This is the latest release from this UK black metal band, the fourth release and second on Candlelight Records, and it's showcasing a pure love for that black metal genre. I got to do an interview for the album Black Blood, which was the previous album, and I loved what I was hearing going on there, and I love what's going on here. I mean, this is black metal through and through. You're going to occasionally hear that black metal hyperblast, you're occasionally going to hear those tremolo pickings and stuff like that, but they're doing so much more to be able to expand just enough, doing just enough genre bending in their kind of pre-established ways that they've already been doing with just that kind of progressive element without going proggy, if you know what I mean. Plus other moments that I don't really want to give away in this quick little review. You still get that classic 90s black wave of black metal going on, but you know, just a little better. The production's way better than what you'd expect from that genre, and it just feels like more of a mature album. And of course, with an album title like this, the lyrics are just full of that, what are we even doing here? Why are we even here? Which makes you really question everything. I'm so happy to see how the band has progressed since their previous album, which I did love, but I think I might even love this one even more. And if you want that true sense of what second wave black metal can be in the 21st century, you need to give this one a shot. Up now, we are going in a bit of a different direction with the band Air Force and Acts of Madness. Despite the band being around since the year before I was born, 1987, this is only the band's third album, and their first album came out in 2016. And having been in unsuccessful bands that have had so many lineup changes, inner turmoil, and other things preventing albums from coming out, I completely understand why it's taken this long. But I will say with Acts of Madness, it is that true sense of what classic heavy metal can be in 2025. There's no flares, bells, whistles, anything to try to make it more of a modern metal album. There's nothing going on like so many of those bands back in the day that turned into like a Christian acoustic rock band or anything like that. This is that pure new wave of British heavy metal sound, and it reminds me so much of what the revival metal bands have been doing for about the last 15-20 years as well. And I'm happy to see that Airwolf is going strong despite everything, and showing that the new wave of British heavy metal sound never died and is still going strong. I think this album would have been perfect in 1987 along with it now in 2025. If you don't believe me, just put it on and see if your head starts to bob and then starts the headbang as everything starts to go along. You'll hear those classic feelings from the genre, and it'll make you want to revisit the genre more and more if you don't already. This is excellent work. Up now, we have Defiled Serenity with The Slumber of the Mind. This is the debut LP from this Finnish melodeath band, featuring the amazing vocals of Paavo Lapati, probably best known for his work. I believe it was on the Finnish version of The Voice, but of course to more metal fans, you would know him more for the band Before the Dawn. This feels like classic melodeath through and through, and it feels like such a loving tribute to bands like Amorphous, Dark Tranquillity, and In Flames back in that 90s, almost 2000 sound. From the production to the songwriting, the atmosphere, everything that it gives off here is that pure melodeath sound. Of course, there's enough modern stuff going on here. I mean, it doesn't sound like Slaughter of the Soul production style or anything like that. It's modern just enough. And also, they cover Rihanna's Unfaithful, which is a relatively new song. I mean, 21st century song in the 2010s anyways. But it also feels like it could have been written around the time that the Gesture Race was made, just given the production style and the way they go about it. I actually really dig it, despite not even really being familiar with Rihanna's catalog. Despite this being their debut LP, I'm so curious to see where the band's going on from here. I'm always going to be wanting some more Before the Dawn, but if this is what's going on right now with Defiled Serenity, I can't wait to see where they go from here. Coming up now is the 6th album in 9 years from the band Phaon's Dream with Repose of a Dream. Now, if you go back early in their catalog, and I mean anything before the previous album, you're gonna be in for quite the shock if you think it's gonna match up to what they're doing now. The previous albums were pure, unadulterated pop punk, and it was done with such a proficiency as well too. Like, if you go back and listen to them, you're gonna wish that, wow, I wonder what they would do if they did some metal. Well, starting on their previous album, they started going into the tech death route, but they also had the pop punk vocals over top of all of that. On here with Repose of a Dream, they go completely progressive tech death with the occasional pop punk riff thrown in over top of the tech death. It is such a strange combination when you hear it on paper, but you hear the blast, the vocals, it is pure progressive tech death in the vein of Necrophagist and Gorguts, yet it occasionally has some death riffs that would make Chuck so happy to hear. And those undeniable pop punk riffs that happen over top of all of it, you are either gonna hate it or you're gonna be in love with it the way that I am. It's just so heavy and so technical, but it gives off the right amount of flair and melody to make even the most savage beast calm. Or maybe even the most radio-friendly fan, this might be a gateway album to get them into more extreme music, which I am never ever gonna be against. This is the kind of tech death that's not just about the fretboard Olympics, about what you can do on the guitar. This is fantastic display of progressive tech death, just a little bit different. And if you want something a little bit different, you really need to give this one a shot. Oh, I've been waiting so long to talk about this one. The brand new album from Killswitch Engage, This Consequence. And I just have to say right off the bat, this is one of the heaviest, angriest, and oddly appropriate albums the band has ever released. It's ferocious, and yet it still has that classic Killswitch formula that you're gonna know and love. The clean vocals, the melodies, everything that's going on, but it's just a bit more brutal, a bit more heavy. Some of that comes from the down-tuned guitar, some of that just comes from the unbelievable vocal display of Jesse. Everything that's going on here, it just feels tailor-made for 2025. There's only one track on the entire album that feels like a breather, and of course that is the second single, I Believe. It really does help you get a breath of fresh air before you start to get pummeled once again from all of the heaviness that's going on. This is easily the heaviest album they've done since 2013's Disarm the Descent. This might be even the heaviest album that they've ever done. It's a really short album as well too, as the longest song is the first single that they did, coming in at a little over 4 minutes long, and the average song is about 3.5 minutes. This thing flies by, and if you grew up in that second wave metalcore scene that I did as well too, right when I was starting to get into heavier music, this is going to be that modern throwback that you love so much from that Killswitch sound, just updated enough for 2025. Pick it up and enjoy. Coming up now, we have the debut LP from this one-man Norwegian band known as Morax with The Amulet. And this is the perfect blend of revival metal and that early day Merciful Fate, nearly black metal sound as well. It never gets full-on black metal, but it has that occult rock, occult metal sound that, again, Merciful Fate pioneered so very well. But it satisfies all of the classic metalheads' need for that revival metal, classic heavy metal sound. The production reminds me of those early day Haunt albums before they started getting really, really good. The songwriting fits the mood that they're trying to capture. This is excelled for this style of music, and it's just different enough to make it stand out. If you're looking for something of that classic heavy metal, revival metal, and proto-black metal sound, you need to look no further than Morax. This is how you do things in this genre in 2025. Coming up next, I deeply apologize for the pronunciation as my German is not good. It is Nachtbrut with Totstick. This is the 7th album from this band since 2007, who has written possibly the catchiest music the band has done in this style, combining their very dark sense of gothic metal and just the right amount of extreme metal going on as well too, kind of like the more gothic and laid back moments of Cradle of Filth or Demu, I think you'll find is what's going on here with Nachtbrut. They have this way of writing dark, captivating, lyrical sense and vocal melodies that really makes it stand out from the crowd. Granted, I am just a dumb American who never learned German, so I don't know what's being said, but I can tell by that vocal delivery, whether it's clean or more extreme, and especially the music behind it, this is meant for all the darkened hearts that all of us kids have enjoyed in this style. It's just catchy enough, it's just extreme enough to satisfy all the goth kids and the extreme metal fans alike. They found a way way to be able to continue the unique sound that they've been patenting for so long, and 18 years later since their debut LP, they are continuing to innovate while never losing sense of who they are. If only all of us could achieve the same thing. If this sounds like it's something for you, I guarantee it is. Up next is the debut LP from Retromorphosis with Salmus Mortis. And if that sounds kind of familiar to you all, you must be a really good fan of tech death, as this comes from the ashes of the band Spawn of Possession. Everyone except for their former drummer is a part of the band now, and they did bring in ex-Decrepit Birth drummer Casey Howard to be filling in this lineup, and wow, this is everything that I wish Spawn of Possession would have been able to continue, but it comes with a key difference. You can hear them having a new zest for life. Like, there's more dynamics, there's more genre bending, they even write the occasional simple riff. And wouldn't you know it, when you do a simpler riff, it makes the more extreme riffing that you do before sound that much more powerful. Wow, what a concept. This is the kind of album that my words can only do so much justice. Like, you need to sit down and listen to this for yourself, because I can't go over all the nuances in something I'm supposed to be doing under 3 minutes due to YouTube law, but this is going to be one of the best tech death albums of the year for the sole reason that it shows what the band has evolved past Spawn of Possession and what they're incorporating into their sound now as Retromorphosis. It also helps that the band just feels so fresh and inspired now, which is good for any band. It's everything about what they've done with the past, but just more. What else could you possibly ask for? And up now, we got Twins Crew with Chapter 4. No, not the Minnesota Twins, where I'm from in Minnesota. This is a Swedish band doing their 4th album, as you may have guessed by Chapter 4. It'd be kind of weird to do the Star Wars thing and start with Chapter 4 as your debut album, but I digress. This is everything that I love about that classic power metal sound done in the 21st century. It just hits all the tropes that I want, from the guitar assaults, the pummeling drums, the soaring vocals, the overall catchiness that anyone who enjoys melody in their metal is going to find something to appreciate here. Not every band needs to reinvent the wheel in this genre, nor do a lot of bands should. They just need to make it as solid as possible, and that's what Twins Crew have done here for 4 albums now, with magnificent ease. Well, it comes off sounding like magnificent ease anyways. This is the kind of power metal that's done that makes you remember why you fell in love with this genre in the first place. The rhapsody of it all, the anger of it all of that good stuff. It gets so catchy, so heavy, and the occasional riff that'll just make you smile in glee, and don't we need that right now? I miss that in power metal, don't you? I absolutely do. Thankfully, this new album is out now, so go check it out and fall in love with power metal all over again. Next up, we have Vulture's Vengeance with Dust Age. This is the sophomore album from this Italian band that really shows that classic side of heavy metal, but it's just proggy enough to make them stand out. Like, this feels like an unearthed gem from 1987. Feels like they were inspired by bands like Omen and Crimson Glory, while also kind of showing off some Sarith Ungol and Manila Road vibes going on as well. It's that classic revival heavy metal sound with just proggy enough elements to make it stand out. And it's that perfect kind of prog where you don't even realize that it is proggy unless you're really into that style. Like, anyone would be able to appreciate this as long as you appreciate the style. I didn't know I needed this until I discovered it, and I'm so glad that I did. If you enjoy this style, you will feel the same way. Go check this one out and prepare to be floored. This is one of the best examples of classic heavy metal done in 2025. And finally, for brand new music out today, we have the 7th Guild and their debut album, Triumvirio. This is a 3-vocal tenor assault, featuring the singers of Skeletoon, Rhapsody of Fire, and Violet Eternal. All 3 vocal styles fit so perfectly together to create this triumphant style of symphonic power metal that sounds just like back in the day, but updated just enough for 2025. And with symphonic power metal, a lot of bands are afraid to make that now. They feel like they need to be a modern metal band, not symphonic metal. I'm so glad this album exists, and it reminds me why I fell in love with the genre in the first place. Everything that you love about the genre is here on full display, with just enough nuances and inspirations to make them stand out from the crowd. And again, that 3-vocal layered tenor assault is just fantastic here. While other 3-tenor metal bands really are lackluster, and you know the one, this one is simply not the case. Whether they're going full guns blazing or pulling things back for triumphant ballads, this is a band that has that pure symphonic metal sound. I just love it so much, and if you love the genre, you will as well. Give it a spin and prepare to be floored. Now it's time for everything that I missed, starting off with the sophomore album from this Canadian one-man band known as Absence of Eternity with Auburn Hellscape. And again, it's so weird hearing North American bands pulling off Viking metal as if they are trapped in the Scandinavian forest. This feels so perfect in that pagan metal, Viking black metal sound. Like, this feels like the darkest, coldest eras of Unleashed, Enslaved, and Arab Altar all rolled into one. It's that early 90s black metal, but it's just cleaned up just enough. What really makes this stand out is it's only 6 songs and it's 36 minutes long. This thing just feels like the perfect length to be able to be satisfied musically, but still wanting to have more. If you like the extreme side of Viking metal and you're not afraid of this being a Canadian Viking metal band, you need to check out Absence of Eternity. Up now we have Among the Lights with In the Wake of Time, and this is the 3rd album in 3 years from this Polish band, and wow, I really enjoy their style of this more raw and unprovoked black gaze. Like, this is just hauntingly beautiful, and it's blackened and raw, and just, it makes you feel uncomfortable in just the right way. If you're looking for the more beautiful, gorgeous style of black gaze, this is not it, but if you're also looking for that strange, bonkers style of black metal, this is also not it. It's right in between. It fits right in between that post-black and shoegaze, and it really hits the both ends of those genres, really provoking what black gaze is all about. It's not the easiest listen in the world, but it is a rewarding one if you enjoy the style, and every album from the project just seems to keep getting better and better. I'm so curious to see where the band goes from here, because I can easily sense the band getting stronger and stronger, maybe fixing up that production, and just going in the right direction. Check them out now if you want to hear something just different enough in your post-black, and get acquainted. I feel like things are just getting started. Up now is easily one of my favorite albums of 2025 so far. It is Apocalypse Orchestra with A Plague Upon Thee. This is a long-awaited sophomore album, as I've been waiting for the band to put out an album since their debut back in 2017 with The End Is Nigh, and this is just the perfect follow-up, and it shows that it's all about the quality, not the quantity. It's the perfect blend of medieval folk and doom created together into what really feels like what the music of the Black Plague would feel like if we could hear it all the way back then. It is that sweet spot of bands mixed between Arab Altar, Swallow the Sun, Falkenbach, especially the lyrical concepts of Woods. Up now we have Dawn of Solace with Affliction Vortex, and it's so great to see the band back. And they come back with their melodic doom, their progressive doom sound, but done in one magnificent way that they haven't done in quite a few albums. They brought back some growls. Normally Miko's clean vocals have been doing it for the last several releases, and I love what they've been doing with it, but it's great to have Tumas being able to do his growls on top of writing all the music for it, and just giving it that extra edge that sometimes the music needs. But don't get it twisted, the growls are just kind of in the background. The clean vocals are still the star of the show here. It's that melodic doom that I love so much, just enough proggy moments going on. Again, you don't really notice them unless you really look for them. And do I occasionally hear an 80s goth overtone, especially in some keyboard sounds? Yes, I do. I think it's because they're leaving out previously left out elements and bringing them back in is what's making this possibly the strongest Dawn of Solace album to date. If you want more emotional side of Wolfheart and Before the Dawn, but you have a love for that doomier side of things, and of course all of that dark, melancholic melody, this is a band for you, and I know it's going to be an album that I keep going back to for years and years to come. Up now we have Decline of the Eye with Wilhelm. This is the 5th album from this long-standing French post-black band that just continues to innovate while still maintaining that sound that they helped popularize. They almost don't even have that post-black sound anymore while still having that black metal sound. The production continues to be stellar and just matches the mood of everything that's going on. The atmosphere of it all captures a sound in a dark veil that can only work in a style like this. The songwriting is grandiose, going from the most bombastic and chaotic sounds of post-black to some of the most laid-back and subdued that I've heard in the genre in quite a bit of time. If you can appreciate a soundtrack of post-black, and go ahead and check out the full story and thematics that the band is going into, it's some seriously deep stuff. You should give Decline of the Eye a proper shot. It's not the easiest listen, especially when you go into those themes, but it is a rewarding experience that you'll be so glad that you did. Up next is Eigen State Zero with Shape of God Through the Sun. This is another one-man band, and boy have I been covering a lot of one-person bands lately, but this one stands out in a grand way. Finally, there is a band that is not afraid to be the progressive side of progressive death metal. And it's also not the easiest thing to do, but Christian Ludvigsen has done it in such a magnificent way for now 4 albums, and this feels like it might be the most tremendous mix that he's done so far. Between all of the moments of BT Bam, Soilwork, and Frank Zappa of all people. Mwah. This is an album that will challenge you both musically and lyrically, pushing boundaries while making you appreciate everything that's on display. It is a great display of the proggy side of progressive death metal while it actually pushes the boundaries, which I miss so much. It's not just about chops, people, I swear. This is some fantastic and intellectual work on display. If that's your bag, you should give this one a proper listen. It gets more rewarding every time that you put it on. And now, kind of going into the more commercial side of things, I have the band Everest with Disaster Within Me. This is a debut album from a Welsh band that is not usually the kind of stuff I gravitate towards. I mean, there's some underlying nu metal overtones that I'm never gonna be a fan of, and it's not my favorite part of the album when they start doing it, but I love everything else that happens here. It feels like such a refreshing take on modern hard rock, and it's got the post-hardcore elements that I enjoy, and there's even some post-metal thrown in, which I was not expecting, but I truly appreciate. It's quite the experience if you go through it on more of a deeper surface level. I'm glad I went beyond the first track on this one because I probably would have skipped it if I thought it was all going to be nu metal. You hear some excelled songwriting and some well-crafted musicianship that explore genres to fit together in a way that I wish more bands would try to do. They add some superb production to all of it, and of course some really catchy stuff that is just undeniable and meant for that modern rock radio sound. If it's not already here in the States on modern rock radio, it really should be. If even I can get past the nu metal parts on this album, you know there's some quality stuff on display here. Give it a shot and see if you're up for it. You might be pleasantly surprised. Up next is Haunt Me with their sophomore album, Watch You Bleed. This is my first foray into the band, but it's that style of 80s, 90s goth, alternative rock, a little bit of industrial, and the synth work throughout all of this that just suckered me in, and I couldn't find it more darkly captivating. This band is all about the atmosphere, and it is layered in it. The lyrics are that kind of love letter poetry that, you know, if you were in high school and you were an alternative kid, you wish you would have gotten from your crush, even though it is dark and twisted at times, you know what I'm talking about. The music, while subdued and simplified, is layered in such a way where it feels like there's so much more going on. Seriously, if you layer stuff, you can make things simple and make it sound grandiose, I swear. The vocals might be a point of contention because they are quite cavernous, like they have a ton of reverb on top of them, and I know it's not going to be for everybody, but I think they're a great fit for what they're trying to achieve. It's a refreshing change of pace with all of the black metal and avant-garde stuff that I've been checking out lately. To hear something done with this kind of proficiency is very welcomed in my listening habits. And if you're like me and you enjoy the true dark side of goth music, you will love Haunt Me. Next up, we have Inborn Suffering with Pale Moon Monochrome. This is a band featuring past and present members of Morning Dawn, Fractal Gates, and Lithian Dreams. And this 4th album from this French outfit is my kind of melodic death doom. It is pure, unadulterated doom metal, and it's that kind of death doom as well where it feels so melancholic, but it has so much melody overlaid on top of it that even if you don't like slower metal, you'll find something to love about it, and that's what I love about this style. The production makes everything feel so haunted, like it's just raw enough, but it's just pristine enough. The songwriting is filled with dread and sorrow, and the musicality on display. Of course, some of the best musicians out there in this style pulling this off. It's gonna make you shed a tear no matter what style of genre you enjoy. This is quality doom through and through. It's been hitting me so hard since I first heard it, and I'm so happy that I finally got to start reviewing it now. 2025 has been a fantastic year in doom, and I hope this is a sign that it's just going to continue to get better and better. 2024 was amazing, but let's just keep hoping it keeps going in this direction. Up next is Ginger with Dwell. And yeah, I've never really covered Ginger before. Like, I've heard so many people say that it wouldn't be worth my time, but I just decided to check them out for myself, and I'm glad that I did. I checked them out on their previous album, Wallflowers, and I heard some really cool stuff on it, and this is the first album I've checked out since actually being fully aware of the band. I hear some subtle moments of modern metal. There's a lot of progressive metalcore going on here, which I know is not everybody's bag, but when it's done right, I really enjoy it, but I also hear more subtle moments that remind me of bands like Porcupine Tree. The lyrics are quite vicious and very thought-provoking, and especially coming from a female-fronted Ukrainian band in 2025. Yeah, I'm a couple weeks late on this one, but I'm so glad that I finally got to it because this needs all the promotion that it can get for the world that we currently live in. I'm enjoying what I'm hearing, even if the lyrics can bring up a lot of pain. It's a very cathartic album for those that are looking for it done in that progressive metalcore, groove metal kind of style. If you want something that feels like that modern progressive groove metal straight out of the Ukraine, give this one a shot. You might be pleasantly surprised. Up next, we have Maktakamp with Mental Razia, and this is my first introduction into this Norwegian band, although it is their third album, in a genre they refer to as smash metal. But if you're not familiar with that, let me explain. It's like mixing hardcore, punk, and extreme metal all combined together. And if that sounds familiar, yeah, there's a lot of parallels to another Norwegian band known as Kvelertak, but they do things a little more fun, a little more genre bending, a little more on the metal side of things than Kvelertak does. And as good as this sounds on record, I think it only sounds better in the live setting, despite not getting the opportunity to probably ever see them live, considering what the US is doing right now with visas and all that stuff. I would love to see what this band would do over here in the States and just destroy every single venue they play. And probably the best part about all of it, it's 9 songs, it's 31 minutes long, and it's fun from start to finish. If you need some smash in your metal, you really should give Maktakamp a proper shot. Up now we have Metric Momentum with Alienized. This is the sophomore album from Krister and Tari Haroy. Of course, Krister was formerly of Triosphere, and Tari is currently of Pyramaze. And this is an incredible display of music. Going from some of the heaviest ends of power metal to some of the most subdued. It's really hard to be able to pull that off with ease, but somehow they managed to do that. Alienized is an album that is just filled to the brim with so many great catchy moments that both musicians are known for, anthems for the genre, and something that any power man should be able to gravitate towards. The production hits so hard, every song works on its own merit. It's just a fun listen from start to finish. If you need something refreshing in power metal that's not just the full guns blazing double bass power metal that doesn't get too soft, too heavy, or too off the wall, just everything right in between, just the way you want it to be, you need Metric Momentum in your life. Next up, we have Mastord with Le Mon Lintu. This is the third album from this Finnish prog band, and this is another time where I'm discovering the band for the first time, but I am loving what I'm hearing. Featuring past and present members of Kaihoro, To Die For, and Return to Void. This is the kind of prog rock and prog metal that I love these days, where it just gets heavy enough, but it has so much melody, harmony, and catchy moments to where the song elements are almost kind of in the background, but if you hear them, they're absolutely there. This is also one of the deepest albums that I've heard for a while. When I saw the press release for this one, I really gravitated towards it because it's the kind of album where it doesn't want you to give up. It wants you to be able to forgive yourself, move on, and become a better person. Because when we're gone, we're gone. And there's so many albums that I listened to lately that is about like giving up. The world is gone, but we're still here, so we can still try. While the lyrics are all done in Finnish, I can't understand what's really going on word for word, but knowing the background of it, reading the press release, and how the lyrics are performed, it does give me a little boost that I desperately needed. Musically, it matches that as well. It's still a very dark album when you listen to it. It's dark, it's theatrical, but it still gives you this sense of hope. And these days, who couldn't use a little hope in their lives? If you dig the darker side of prog rock, metal, etc., or if you just like the other bands that these members have been a part of, you should give this one a shot. It might just give you a little bit of hope as well. Up next, going in a different direction with prog rock than what I just got done talking about, is the fourth album from Pattern Seeking Animals with Future of All Creatures. And this album is a little more bleak. Although it does feature past and occasional present members of Spock's Beard, I like that pretty much everybody that's still attached to Spock's Beard are still friends. That just makes me quite happy. It has everything that you love about the Beard, but of course Pattern Seeking Animals has its own way of doing things as well. There's so many new influences and prog rock goodness that they've been doing doing over the past 4 albums that they've really become their own thing. Granted, lyrically, it is deep, it's dark. I mean, come on, Future of All Creatures is quite grim right now when you look at the reality of the situation, but there is still hope that we could improve as a society to keep life going for everything and, everyone. The musicianship on display is something to aspire to for any musician. I mean, everyone a part of this band is just a prime, top-tier musician. This is the kind of album that is very relaxing to listen to musically, but it is filled with that eerie optimism or pessimism, depending on how you look at it, where you listen to it and it's just dark enough without ever going into like metal territory or trying to really preach at you about what's going on in the world. It's just a tried and true prog rock album in 2025 from some of the best musicians in the genre. They keep getting better on every album, and as long as we're still here, I can't wait to see what the next album has in store. Up next is another band name that I deeply apologize if I get wrong, Ryokan with Kept. This is another Finnish prog band here, but it definitely goes into a different direction. Feeling like a fantastic mix of the middle era Catatonia, early day Leprous, and sometimes the Man-Eating Tree. This sophomore album hits the mood for anyone who enjoys some progressive and gothic metal music, especially the way that I do. Some of the riffs and vocal melodies, and of course that atmosphere, hits me in a way that instantly attacks my emotions. It's a cool mix of modern and early 21st century metal that works in such a catchy way that I simply can't get enough of it. And if you enjoy the darker side of progressive metal, and of course have that soft spot for gothic music, you really need to give this one a proper listen and feel the passion that this band projects onto you. I think this is going to be really, really under the radar, and it shouldn't be. This should be regarded as one of the best progressive and gothic metal albums of 2025. Next up, we have yet again another name that I deeply apologize if I get wrong, Sakahyther with Samite's black metal. Despite the band forming back all the way back in 2002, this is the band's first studio album, and having been in bands that really didn't work out the way that I want them to, I totally understand why it took so long for them to be able to get their proper first album out. There's been quite a bit of lineup changes and other stuff that's happened in the world right now that's prevented this from happening, but thankfully this album is still filled with style, substance, and a thrilling ride from start to finish. I have no concept if these songs are made from 20 plus years ago, or this is all brand new music that was created with the new lineup, but I will say they would hit just as hard back in 2002 as they do now in 2025. It's some of the catchier riffs I've heard in straight up black metal in quite a bit of time. I miss that in this genre so much when riffs matter just as much as the lyrics and the presence that you have. This is quality black metal from start to finish, and it gets quite punishing in just the right spots. If you want some refreshing black metal, give this one a proper listen. It was a long time in the making, but the final product is more than worth it. Up next is the debut album from Thomas Arek and the Ouroboros. And of course, you may know Thomas as the founder, singer, guitarist of the post-hardcore band, The Fall of Troy. Well, this band kind of hits a scratch that I didn't know needed to be itched in such a long time. It's progressive rock, it's post-hardcore, it's math rock, all rolled into one. If you love moments of the Mars Volta and Coheed and Cambria, but also getting into that math rock territory, if you love The Fall of Troy, or if you just want to know what emo prog was all about, you might want to give this one a shot. It feels like a mix of the Warped Tour, Taste of Chaos, and Progressive Nation all rolled into one. I know this won't be for everyone for various reasons, but the more I listen, the more I love it, and hearing this take on progressive and emo music, I just love it, and it really hits the spot, and it just might work for you as well. Up now we have Vermilia with Karsiko. This is another Finnish band here, but this time it's the third album from this one-woman project. This album is filled to the brim with pure emotional takes on atmospheric and pagan black metal that other bands have only strived to do, but could never achieve. Between the chants, the gripping riffs, and the overall feeling that you're in a Scandinavian forest, it makes for the perfect mood album, but that mood can strike at any time. The production is a bit raw, but it fits in character to what's going on, but the musicianship on display is in pure top form. Everything that Julia Mattia has done here is perfection for the genre. If you want something that is truly emotionally driven in the genre, you need this one in your life. Your life will feel a bit fuller in the process. And finally, we end things with Visions of Ruin with Nine of Swords. And the debut album from this American band combines so many different things rolled into one. It is symphonic, black and deathcore, that also has some of the catchiest stuff that I've heard in quite some time. Of course, this band is heavily influenced by different kinds of card games, Magic the Gathering, tarot cards, all that kind of stuff. but it all makes sense to the music so very, very much. And this is how I prefer my deathcore listening habits. When it's just pig squeals and the heaviest breakdowns possible, I just really couldn't care less. It has to have dynamics and layers, and that pure love of creating music. Deathcore should just be a layer of what's going on, in my opinion, not just the only thing of substance. The production is pristine and clear, allowing everything to breathe naturally. Mix that up with some astounding musicianship, and you have one of the finest displays of deathcore that you'll hear in 2025. I can't say enough good stuff about this. If you enjoy symphonic and blackened in your deathcore, you really need to check this one out. And there you go, folks, another 30 albums down for Out Today and What I Missed for February 21st, 2025. So what do you think? Did I pick out some good albums? Did I pick out some bad albums? Stuff that might pique your interest? Stuff that you're going to stay clear from? Please let me know all of that down in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. The channel is steadily growing at a rate that I am quite happy with, but I could always use more, and I'm so thankful that you've actually stuck around for this whole thing to check out everything I've done. Yes, in February, I've covered 90 albums so far in 2025 and 140 in total, so I am getting tired, but I can't let up yet because we're almost at the end of February where you need to come back next Friday when we do Out Today and What I Missed for February 28th, 2025. What is that gonna entail? Oh, I can't wait to show you. But until then, for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, this is Josh Runquist for Heavy Debriefings saying, embrace the skillet.